first of all, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Second, thanks for being in the book.
Thank you. Also my pleasure.
Well, stories. I know why they're important to me, but why are stories important to you?
Why are stories important to me? Stories are important to me because they can be, what I'm thinking is that they can be a poetic way of expressing a message or a point. You know, they can be, stories speak to the heart. And yeah, stories speak to the heart, whereas just like a book full of facts speaks to your mind, you know?
Okay.
So when you're able to express your story, or rather express your message in the form of a story, um, then you are connecting with the heart of the other person. You're speaking from the heart because you've
Yes.
got this, you've got this flow. And yeah, I think a story reaches people's, connects with other people much more powerfully.
Well, I would agree. I come from a family of storytellers.
Hmm.
And then when I got into sales and marketing, one of the smartest, most successful coaches I had said people will justify with logic after they've decided on feelings.
Right.
So I was like, people would justify with logic what they did based on emotions. That was like, and he's gone on to be very, very successful. So
Hmm.
it was a really fascinating way, because in attempting to get people to pay attention to their health, physical and mental, in my corporate work, stories got more interest.
Right.
Stories got more people involved and enmeshed and changing than when I did the logical type of presentation.
Hmm.
So tell me about the work you do.
The work that I do is very heart centered. It's coming from that place that stories come from. Um, the work that I do is about learning to reconnect with your heart, with your intuition. It's about realizing that you are a part of the world, and that you are truly connected energetically, spiritually, however you might want to say that. You are connected to everyone around you, and everyone on the planet. You know, each of us has an effect on an untold, an unknown multitude of other people. Every day we interact with other people, and you have no idea what sort of ripple effect you may be having in the world, right?
I totally
So the
agree.
work, awesome. So yeah, so the work that I do is about it's addressing disconnection. It's a it's a it speaks to the person who has become lost to one degree or another within their own lives. And it no longer feels their purpose, no longer feels that connection. They need someone to pull them out of the water, and help them to find a new perspective.
I so agree. In the 1980s, 80s, 90s, I was blessed to read a book called Zap, Z-A-P-P. And
Okay.
you speak the same language as that man.
Ah.
And Zap was about how when we interact with each other, we gently to seriously raise each other up, or when we interact, we put each other down and we get in the way, we zap the energy. And he took
I
that
see.
powerful book and he turned it into a 400-person consulting agency the last time I checked.
Oh wow.
So we
Good
are
for him.
we are energy, and when we
Absolutely.
deal with adversity, we have to muster our resources and pull in others to help us focus it, uplift it. So who do you
Absolutely.
work with?
Absolutely. My focus at this time is working with men. I'm aiming at men. I work with men. I built an online course that talks about these things, but is tailored to men, because I feel that men are underrepresented. You know, I feel that, certainly my own story is one of a, a lot of disconnection, a lot of self-consciousness, a lot of discomfort with myself and not knowing myself. And you know, I shut all that inside of me. And so for me, addressing, like, having now sort of awoken and come out the other side of that, and having learned so many incredible life-changing lessons, um, I really am compelled to take that out into the realm of men, and speak to them, because as I was saying, like, men, I feel, are underrepresented. Like, it's okay for women to have, like, women's groups. It's okay for women to cry. It's okay for women to hang out with each other, and sort of, um, spill their guts, or, you know, if you will, just sort
Yes.
of let everything out. And right, that's like, to propagate a stereotype, I can say that women are expected to do that kind of thing,
Yes. Yes.
right, in our society.
Yes.
And that's it must be a wonderful outlet for women that participate, and for women that want to do that kind of thing. And I feel that, you know, the way that society expects men to be, and the way a lot of women expect men to be, is, you know, it puts us in a box, and also introduces contradictory expectations, or what's the word I'm searching for? You know, we're expected to be tough and manly. We're expected to sort of suck it up and
Conflicting
don't
values.
cry. Conflicting values. Yeah, that's good.
Because
Conflicting expectations. Conflicting.
yes, better still.
Yeah, right. Where we're not supposed to cry openly. We're not supposed to be sort of too wishy-washy, right? You got to be tough. You got to be, like, not too fancy. You got to, yeah, you got to
Yeah,
sort
got to
of,
man up. Suck it up,
you got to
Buttercup.
man. Exactly. Like, in a group of dudes, no one man is going to be the first one to stand up and say, guys, fuck, I think I'm falling apart. I really need some help,
Yep.
right? So now I can be that guy. I can speak to that feeling. I can open the door and then say, look, this is what I've been through, and
Congratulations.
I'm not. Thank you. Um, yeah, I can be that guy, and I can talk about things, and it's not. I certainly don't have a sort of wishy-washy, soft kind of approach either. You know, I'm not like, I'm not coming at it from a hippie, spiritual, fluffy angle. You know, I'm not that guy.
Right.
I like my loud music. I like my fast cars. I like a lot of manly shit. You know, but yeah, but I got something to say, and I think it's incredibly important to
I
to be
think
the one to open the door.
the happiness and the success of our personal lives are a lot about attaining some semblance of rational, emotional, physical, spiritual balance. And if we don't, if we
Absolutely.
keep the lid on that emotional stuff, I have one quote that's authentically mine to my knowledge about feelings. What we repress makes us regress.
Ah, yes, I like
So
it.
I was hired by a technical firm, early 90s, and everybody in the room had 3 strikes. And in theory, they should have been fired. But the
Okay.
union and a senior HR director said these people all have, my words, not theirs, big issues outside of work. we should give them a
Oh,
chance to heal before we throw them away. We thought they were wise enough to work for us. Now it's up to them, but we're going to give them some chances. So myself and
hmm,
another person was hired, and the goal was after our course, they should admit they needed therapy, or even the union was going to say adios because you've got 3 strikes. You've risked other
right.
people. You've been on the site, on the job dangerous, and you really don't belong here anymore, but we're giving you one more chance. Like, and I still, out of the 70 people in the one room, 3 of them got up and said, this is beep. I don't need this. And
Yep.
so I had to come up with a quote to get them between the eyes because I had a series of these. And I came up, what we
Mm,
repress makes us regress.
I love
And
it.
I then got hired by another public utility who we had a great success. Out of 160 odd people, only 7 didn't buy in.
Wow.
But
That's
yeah,
phenomenal.
you're doing powerful work because we need to keep repeating the message because we have a long way to go.
Indeed. Indeed.
And
But
so,
I feel that there is a momentum happening. I feel that particularly with the introduction of social media, or the prevalence of social media, and its effect on like younger people,
yes,
right? Younger men that I've spoken to are typically much more open to having these kinds of conversations,
yes,
right?
yes,
There's a shift happening, I believe. Whereas you would compare my father's generation, right? Men who are in their 70s, 80s now, good luck, right? Most, by and large, okay. I
yep.
don't I don't like to generalize too much, but by and large,
But
good luck
many,
with that conversation.
I agree.
Yeah.
My dad was now my dad's passed now by 10 years come April, but he was the odd one out. As my
Oh,
mother
yeah.
said, I started dating your father and quickly realized that he knew what both ends of the baby were for, and he was quite willing to work with both ends. He was not a normal man. He was willing to birth the baby, bath the baby, feed the baby, clean the baby up. She said, and he had feelings and he talked about them.
Wow.
So I didn't get raised in a normal family by any stretch, but I sure had friends who dropped by because your mom and dad are not normal. They talk about stuff.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah. So that what you repress makes you regress comes from a lot of that came through 35 years of, well, I spent time in the cancer ward a few times. So
Mm,
the people who were at the most ease, not necessarily at peace about being ill and maybe dying, but just more at ease with the process, they'd share, how's your day? Oh, okay. Anything
eh,
else? Don't want to talk about it. But even that's an expression of feelings.
absolutely.
And so I totally hear you about this. So I think it's really important. What was the turning point that made you want to be in this line of work?
The turning point was a complete and total breakdown on my part, and the collapse or destruction of my previous life. I
Okay.
built a good life I built a good life for myself. I had a wife, and we had a great relationship for a while, and we had a great house in a lovely neighborhood. I had 2 beautiful children that I loved, still love, of course. Um, I had everything that I thought I always wanted, right? I had that sort of model of the typical family life, and I was kind of miserable, and I didn't know where I fit in, and I had come from an entire life of being disconnected from myself, and sort of always always wanting more, but never feeling worthy of having it.
Right.
Always having big dreams, but feeling completely incapable of realizing them.
Right.
Right. Loving the beautiful life that I had, but feeling overwhelmed with the responsibility of it.
Right.
And from that place of being overwhelmed, and starting from a place of disconnection, I couldn't resolve anything, you know, and my pattern at that time, my life pattern up to that point was to mostly keep things in. You know, I didn't
Yes.
want to. I didn't feel important enough to unload my burdens on someone else, so I kept everything in. And
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of other stuff going on as well, but basically what happened is that I've described it previously as I felt like I was getting smaller and smaller,
Mm.
you know, and I I began to act in ways that I felt would resolve my pain, you know, like honestly, I cheated on my wife, and I thought that might just be a quiet way for me to resolve, to sort of get some peace. But of course, I always felt like crap about myself afterwards. And the more I felt bad about myself, the more I was inclined to do things that reinforced that sense of being a bad person. And that's a cycle, and it just got worse and worse. And like I said, I managed to create a situation that just blew up my family and caused me to be thrown out of the house, and I really never went back. So I found myself out of my house, out of that life, with a lot of really serious consequences. And from that from that broken place, I woke up, and suddenly I could look back at my life and see exactly how I got myself to the place I was currently, you know, I was going to say standing in, but I wasn't standing. I was in pieces on the ground. But that's where I was, and I could see very clearly how I got myself to that place.
Yes. Okay.
And right, and that was a revelation. And I decided to throw all my previous limiting beliefs and all the stuff that wasn't working for me. I just said, you know, to hell with that. Look where it got me. And I went in the other direction and started challenging myself and started doing things like putting myself into social situations. And I just did all kinds of things that I would never have considered before. And I got incredible results. You know, I made friends. I got like the human interactions that I had were so powerful because I was actually showing myself. I was actually being myself and not second guessing everything that was coming out of my mouth.
Being authentic.
I was being authentic, exactly. And and I couldn't believe how fantastic the results were, or the responses. And yeah, and I woke up and I had this tremendous inspiration to create my brand and to create a platform that would deliver my message to the world. And even then, initially, I created the brand, right? The
Right.
Live More brand, with the logo. I created that whole thing. Certainly, as a result of a massive inspiration, I saw it all at once, and I'm like, I've got to manifest this. But even the original idea behind the logo, part of it was so that I could hide behind the logo, right? Because I was still coming out of that
Right.
isolated, disconnected place. So I I thought that I could create a brand that was all about wholehearted human connection, and I could have the brand be the star and promote that for me while I was comfortable in the background. And yeah, I quickly learned that wasn't going to work, and I found a better place, which was the idea of becoming a coach. Right,
Okay.
really getting behind my message, really stepping into my power, really just throwing caution to the wind and saying, "Let's do this." Right, and so I built a course, and I'm very proud of it, and I've managed to grow emotionally to a point where I'm comfortable saying, yes, I'm a self-discovery coach for men. And here's what I have to say,
Very good.
digging in the dirt, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And yeah, that's how that's the progression of how I came to be where I'm at today.
Well, that was quite a torturous but lifelong lessons journey by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
And in the
It
book,
very much was.
you're going to share one of those big ones.
Yep.
And the goal of this book is to give people 30 stories plus one. And the symbolism is the plus one is if we just hang in there for one more day, one more day.
Mm,
So I'm going to ask people when this is over and I put it up after it's edited to consider
yep.
either being in the book or buying the book when we publish, because 31 stories of inspiration to inspire us to hang in there for one more day, one more day.
Mm,
And having had my 7-year battle with 2 bouts of cancer and medical emergency surgery at midnight and concussion and robbed by a motorcycle gang, and I have a
oh my
list.
God.
So, but I'm here. I'm not supposed to be
Wow.
here. So your story, my story, the other 29.
I would argue that you are supposed to be here. You survived all of that,
I did.
right? And you're still smiling, man. You're still shining. So you're definitely supposed to be here.
Yes, just a few statisticians told me back 30 years ago in the cancer ward that, and I was like, la, 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 I'm 0 or 100. I'm going for 100 flat out.
Nice.
So thank you very much for this gift of time. I will put your website across the bottom of this and the place for people to look for the book later. And we will have another discussion in the next few weeks, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I would love that.
Well, thank you for this gift of time, Jonathan.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Be well. We'll be in touch.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.